Phil, would you like to introduce him since you two know each other?
Chris and I have some mutual friends, and so I was watching the Queer Beer Festival, and he popped on, and I was like, I think I know him. And so I was happy to see his brewery was open. So this is Chris Hartley. He's from Provincetown Brewing Company, and we're going to be drinking one of his beers tonight. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, guys. Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be with you.
Chris, we know it's All-Star night, so we're going to let you go as quickly as possible. I don't even want to be here right now.
You know, the gays love their drag race. Yeah.
I'm actually extremely jealous. Like, that sounds like a blast.
Right. We've got drag queens. We've got a host. We've got a brewery full of gays right now. So
that is also the best band name ever created. Brewery full of gays. That's probably the best party ever. So Chris, tell us. Yeah, I know. We're not that far, actually. We could make the hike. It's a bit of a drive. Yeah. So, Chris, why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself, your brewery, kind of how you got started. Like, give us the rundown.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been coming up to Provincetown for about 10 years now. I love Provincetown. The first time I came here, I fell in love. I've always been a really big beer enthusiast, especially craft beer. And I came up here and wanted, asked my buddies to go to the brewery, and they all just said there's not a brewery here, which was mind-blowing to me, considering this is where the Pilgrims landed originally. It's Massachusetts, which is like the state capital, or the state of craft breweries. So after about 5 years of kind of visiting here and just spending a lot, every vacation up here, I just was like, all right, let's like, how has somebody not done this yet? So I had no brewing experience really at the time. I homebrewed a few times for myself, but never worked at a brewery or anything. So I was very lucky enough to get linked up to, as we all know, that the brewing community is just like one of the most communal, supportive, amazing communities to be part of. I was lucky enough to get connected to Nick Walther at Turtle Swamp. He had recently opened up his brewery in Jamaica Plains in Boston. So I interned with him for about 6 months. During that time, learned how to brew with him and his brewmaster or assistant brewer. His flavor profile and his kind of ethos to brewing is just like really good solid beer, which is exactly what I'm about. It's not, like there's a lot of great beer out there and that's really experimental, but he is just like really solid, crushable beers. Is kind of his go-to. So very, very fortunate in how it lined up. And so I worked with him for about 6 months to develop our first initial offerings. And then as, we finally found a spot in Provincetown and kind of hustled to get opened for 2019 season. We opened a little late, season here is pretty short, but we opened up here in August, and then, it was received really well. And then, we kind of hit right into to the pandemic, which is great. But, the whole idea for me was that this brewery was about a place that, Provincetown is obviously a very queer, welcoming place, but, a lot of straight people come here. It's a very open, progressive town. It's not like Fire Island, where it's pretty strictly gay. And so I always thought that, this town, brewery would do so well here because it's such an intersection of families and older and younger generations and lesbians and bears and, gays and every walk of life. And so sure enough, this place has really become a community center for the community, which has been fantastic. But I also, because ptown is such a, vacation destination. Like every time I came up here, it was always basically just to get pretty lit and go out and have fun. And so you don't really get to know the community. And when you're only here for a week at a time or here for a short weekend, you don't really get to understand. Like, it is a really cool town to be a part of. And it goes from 90,000 people in the peak of summer to 3,000 people in dead of winter. And so I really wanted to highlight the people who actually make this community what it is, throughout the year. So we came up with this idea that it was more like an activism beer brand. All breweries do, really get back to their communities, but I really wanted to make that the central focus of the actual brand. So we came up with a term called Draftivism, and we basically back up our can and highlight the different charities that kind of reflects the pillars of the community. And eventually we wanted to grow to be more, just any kind of, it doesn't have to be so local, but, there's a lot of great local charities that we've already featured, and we're able to give, back, 15% of our profits go back to all these charities. And again, that only kind of reflects this idea of a brewery where, you come in, and it's a communal place. It's a place that's a watering hole. And so you come in and so I thought it would be a great way to have a conversation starter that if you look at the back of the can, you're like, oh, what's the Summer of Sass? Oh, it's this really great local charity that brings up underprivileged, LGBTQ youth up from the South into a town that, shows them what it is like to live in a really open and progressive town. Or, the Conservation Trust, what's the, like these local things that I don't think you'd ever really know about if it wasn't highlighted. So it's just been a really cool experience, and this town's just been so supportive of it. So that's kind of like the ethos of it. And then also, like, everybody said that the gays don't drink beer, and I'm like, you guys are wrong. Like, there's
I was gonna say, I think we hang out with different gays because they all drink beer.
I know, they all drink beer. Like, Bear Week is our busiest week here ever. It's like insane, and that means like the muscly circuit boys don't, but they still come in, and we have a hard seltzer for them. It's fine, but there's those, you got to pander to everybody. And, but it's just, so it's just like yeah, exactly. I'm happy to make sure everybody's welcome and they have something to drink, but it's been the lesbians, the bears, and just like everyone in between, and the straights. Like last season, it was a much straighter vibe in town just because of the pandemic. But they just drank like crazy. So it's been nothing but great success and really a lot of support. So.
That's fantastic, man. And like everybody was even saying in the comments section, it sounds like the amount that you give back both to your local community as well as to the charitable, community in general. That's amazing. Because as someone who grew up in the South, I can tell you, being in the LGBTQ community in the South was not a very popular thing for most kids that I knew growing up.
Meanwhile, in California, I was in the LGBTQ club.
Right.
Like in high school.
Such a different separation of growing up.
Different vibe.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So now I actually did look at the back of your can. So tonight we're going to be doing the Golden Hook Golden Ale.
Yeah.
And the back of this one is IMC, Indivisible Mass Coalition.
Yeah, so this is Indivisible, which is basically a get out the vote organization. They're national chapters, but this is the local chapter, the Mass Coalition. But Indivisible is basically, they do a lot of work with Swing Left. Our launch party was, my initial launch party that we did here in town was right before the midterm elections of 2018. We did a launch party here. Just like my initial investors were kind of like, let's see if this has legs. And so we did a Flip the House Flip Cup tournament in town, and so we partnered with them, and they've been really amazing. So it was just a way right before the election to kind of get people registered to vote, get information out about different contests that were going on, and so we've been partners with them for a long time. So yeah, they're one of our dear friends. So
awesome. Well, I would want to make sure you're getting out in time. So why don't we crack this?
Let's drink this damn beer.
Crack it open.
I have been waiting to have this beer since this box arrived. When I saw Provincetown Brewing, I was like, yes. I was so excited. Where's my glass?
So this is one of my favorite beers. So this is our Golden Hook Golden Ale. It's basically, we have it's a really straightforward golden ale. This is the one beer that we'll always offer in a 12-pack or in 12-ounce cans, just because it's the beer that I go to the beer we go to the beach and I crush, a good 8 or 9 of these, and I just like them to be cold. So
yeah, I was kind of excited when you said you guys kind of stuck with like crushable beer and like just make good beer. And like as soon as I saw it was a golden ale, I was like, I think I might know what to expect now based off that description.
Yeah.
So, what are we smelling and tasting? Before I butcher.
Smelling, we have a Mosaic. Sure. So it's Mosaic, and so the hops are Mosaic and Cascade, and then we just use some really just some Pilsner and flaked oats. It's a really simple recipe. And then you get this really nice kind of sweet, smooth, kind of creamy, taste, but then also these like hints of like grapefruit and apple. And it doesn't leave like this kind. It just the aftertaste is actually a little creamy, but you get it's very crisp with that apple taste in it, which right at the forefront. So it's just one of those drinks that every time I drink one, it's pure happiness.
Yeah, and actually it's weird. So it's weird to get the creamy on the back end of that, like to get that like little bit of almost that creamy on the back end. Man, that's good.
Yeah. You really don't expect it. Like right when it hits your tongue, you think it's much more citrusy and appley and crisp. But it's a nice complex taste to it. So for being such a really simple beer, it's actually it's definitely what I go to. So.
And it's a really pretty color. Yeah. I mean, I know it's a golden ale, and you kind of expect it to be like a little brighter than like a Pilsner or something like that, but it is a really pretty color. It could just be the ring lights, but it looks good.
Yeah, and she's pretty for sure.
So
I could definitely drink multiples of these very easily. And I'm sure you have.
Yeah, no, it's some days it's a little questionable. I'm like, okay, I need to do that. But that's also like all the beers that we offer here, for the most part are pretty session-esque. We always want to keep them pretty low ABV, just so that you are able to go to the beach and have multiples and not be passed out by 1 p.m. So
this makes sense. Yeah, I'd like to have a full day of drinking, not a half day of drinking or power drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit my 30s. Yeah, exactly. And that was a real concern.
For sure.
So listen, I think it's really, from our end of things, I think it's amazing what you're doing for the LGBTQ community, both as an individual, like the idea just to start with that to begin with of how much you give back to it. Right. That's crazy to me because we have a lot of folks within the industry and also within the community who work for breweries and other places and stuff. And it's everybody's got to make a dollar, and at the same time, you're within a community that you're supporting and they're supporting you. So I think that's crazy, man. I'm looking forward to coming up to Provincetown and seeing you guys, man.
Yep.
Thank you.
We will definitely be doing that.
I love it. Guys.
Make sure I'm invited. I have had a blast in Provincetown. I'm just like you. I've gone to Fire Island and I've gone to Provincetown. So as a straight male, I will say Provincetown is probably more of my scene. I will.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
I'm known to wear a good Speedo.
Right.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I love it.
I actually do. But I went to Fire Island for the drag queen arrival.
Invasion. Yeah, absolutely.
That was a day. And I literally hit a point where I go, I don't think I'm supposed to be here anymore.
Man out here.
I was like, I came, I supported, I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
Let them have their fun. But P-Town, I could spend the whole weekend in P-Town. Like that's, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, we're making it. It's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, come on, guys. Keep me posted. We'll be here cold for you.
Oh, you will be receiving an email from me in regards to a hat, so we can keep in contact that way.
We just got cool hats today. They're very cool. So. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I'll get you guys some good merch for sure.
Awesome. Well, I definitely want to make sure that you hit your, exit time point. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. This beer is fantastic. Thank you so much for what you're doing for the community. And I, wish you guys the best of luck. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you guys so much. Yeah,
thanks a lot, Chris.
Pleasure to meet you guys, and thank you guys for having me on. Yep. All right, you guys have a great ride. All right.
All right. Happy Pride.
Cheers. Bye. Cheers.